For those select few that are already initiated, you should already know what this is. And for those of you that aren't, just chill. See, we're going to get down to the other stuff here in a second. But what I'm always trying to get everybody to understand is everything is vibration. So, before we do anything else, just vibe.
This is crazy.
Perfect.
You're tuned in with priceless knowledge of self. And this right here, this ain't nothing but some cosmic insight. And let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered what public perception of you is? Do you even give a fuck? Have you ever asked yourself what career path would be best suited to the personality and skill set I've kind of developed throughout my life? Well, that's why I've made this series on the Midheavens. And I know I took like a 2-year break, and I do apologize. I almost lost my mind. But I'm back. I'm stronger than ever. And as y'all already know, I'm a finisher. And we've already done Aries and Pisces. So that's fire and water. I think this time we got to keep it loyal to the soil. So this right here, this is a little something about those people that have Taurus on their midheaven in their natal charts. Now, before I can actually get into that, what I'm going to do first is tell y'all what the midheaven is. And then we'll talk for a few minutes about what the sign of Taurus represents in astrology. But then comes a culmination, a crescendo, and eventually a climax. And don't let the smooth taste fool you. Nah, don't ever do that. I'm actually one of the coldest closers in the game. And I can show you better than I can tell you. So, without further ado, let's get into you. And when it comes to the midheaven or the MC or the medium coeli, the first thing you need to understand is this is actually not a placement at all. This is actually an angle or a point in the chart that typically occurs as the 10th house cusp. And so when you hear somebody say, my midheaven's in the 9th house, That's actually not correct, because the ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, and the IC are actually not in houses at all. They actually occur at angular cusps of the chart. And in most cases, the midheaven is going to be the 10th house cusp or the highest angle of that chart. And in being so, it's also going to be the most visible or public part of the chart. And that also means this is going to be one of the most public projections of a person's personality. And by extension of that, this can also speak to our public reputation, our social standing, our career, and not job, career. And some people never see a career. So we might not be talking about that to you. All right. Some people only have a job their whole life. So this is going to be more representative of their reputation and their aspirations. All right. But on a deeper level, this is about our ambition and what we aspire for. It also speaks of our relationship with authority, and it speaks of what limits are all about in our life. All right. And, that's also going to be why it plays such a pivotal role in our social standing right here. See, this is our most visible achievements in the eyes of society. And so we have to look at how that relates to our long-term goals. But to fully understand the midheaven, we also need to understand its polarity. And that's the nadir, or the IC, or the imun coeli. And that's going to be an indication of our roots and our heritage and where we come from. But this whole axis speaks of our upbringing, and it represents our parents in a way. And so this axis of the midheaven and the nadir, or the MC and the IC, is going to be extremely indicative of the ways that we grow in life. All right. And so to sum it up, the sign on our midheaven is going to show how the world experiences us. And it speaks of our basic approach towards dealing with the outside world. Whereas the planets in aspect to our midheaven are going to show qualities of our inner being that we wish to contribute to the world, and the things that we want to be fulfilled through our interactions with the general public. All right. And so what is the sign of Taurus? See, this is the second sign of the zodiac, and it naturally resides in the second house, and it's ruled by Venus. It rules the throat. It is symbolized by a bull, and its mantra is, I have. Alright. And, this is definitely fixed earth, y'all. And Taurus energy is all about safety and security and comfort and rewards and what we each place value in. And if Aries is all about the love of the game and the spirit of competition and winning, Taurus is all about the love of what the game can give us. So you got to think physical pleasures and material goods and reveling in delicious success. And never forget, the energy that comes with the Venetian bull is going to be quite tactile too. So it has this tender, slightly sensual touch to it. And with this being on an axis with Scorpio, don't get it twisted, it's also very sexual. But in contrast to Scorpio, this is not going to be quite as intense. This is more solid and sensual. And wherever Taurus shows up in the chart, this is going to seek to bring comfort and security and stability and calmness and value. And it wants us to be indulgent, especially in the things that we find valuable or soothing or beautiful. But it can also bring stubbornness, laziness, complacency, materialisticness. But, ultimately, I would just say Taurus is about the good life in all of its guises. And it's about value and values. All right. And so, when you put Taurus on that midheaven, this is where power meets purpose. This is where we encounter calm and cool and collected people who don't ever sweat the small stuff. And because of that, you're also going to see people who have a tendency to make other people feel calm around them. But there's also another end of this. You also can have some really intense people because of that Scorpio IC and that Leo rising that have a dynamic energy. And what they do is get as much money as possible because that gives them the power to control all the key variables. All right. And, man, maybe it's because when you see Taurus on the midheaven, you're going to see some laid back and chill people, or maybe you're going to see people who are really consistent in everything that they do, or you're just going to meet people who stay loyal to their principles. But either way, these are going to be people whose presence is valued. And for them, that's going to make their time and their energy that much more valuable too. All right. So these ain't going to be people who waste their time on their energy on anything that ain't worth it. And worth it is the key term there. Worth is big for this right here. This is Taurus after all. And that also means for them, stress, drama, or anything else that disrupts their peace or their power is not going to be very well tolerated. No, they actually abhor that bullshit. And a lot of them are actually going to go to great lengths to keep it from around them. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have Scorpio on that IC. Because having Scorpio on that IC means they probably experienced more than their fair share of toxicity and bullshit growing up. So whether it was that darker emotional stuff or manipulation or abuse, whether it was controlling behaviors or death or whatever it was, there was something turbulent or even dangerous about their home or their family life growing up. And there might even been some times where they felt powerless. And so it's made these natives right here want nothing more than for things to calm down as they grow and mature. All right. And they just want to get to the good part, to be honest. And most of them do. But there's always going to be a little bit of that residue left over from that scorpionic upbringing. So I'm letting you know now, you do need to be very careful when you're dealing with them in certain instances. Because although they might not be particularly vocal about it, they do feel everything very deeply. I'm talking very deeply. And they do have intense emotions. And they can be extremely manipulative when it comes to getting what they want, or when it comes to keeping people or things that they feel are theirs in their life. All right. And I want you to pay attention to that right there. Because speaking of that concept right there, I ain't gonna lie to you. With Taurus right here, these people can be very possessive. And a lot of them can be extremely controlling because their emotional nature is actually very, very intense. But most of them don't like to deal with shit in overt displays. So they end up repressing that. And then they end up using covert methods to keep people and situations under control. And a lot of them use money to do so. All right. And sometimes it helps. But sometimes it don't. And so with an emotional nature like that, it's actually no wonder that these people seek comfort and security through their careers like they do. And it's actually the main reason why they'll never stop until they reach that security and stability that they've been searching for their whole lives. All right. And for them, let's just keep it real. That means getting money at the highest level. That means giving themselves the lifestyle that offers them a space for solace away from that turbulent emotional nature that they have. Oh yeah, man. Or sometimes to get away from that fucked up family they have too. We can't forget that. And as important as finances are to them, it's also extremely important that their work is something that they can enjoy and that their work environment is as stress-free as possible. You know, I was talking to my sister, Queen Machete, and she's a Taurus Midheaven. And as I was talking to her, she always just takes the time to tell me how much she enjoys the fact that she gets to be a professional tarot card reader as her career. And she couldn't love it more. And it's actually proven very lucrative for her also. But the fact that she enjoyed it is what separates it from Capricorn or Virgo. You feel what I'm saying? And if they can find something that does give them what they're looking for, it gives them money and comfort, they're going to be incredibly loyal to that, all right? Whether that be as a boss or a worker. It actually, I've seen some Taurus Midheaven people work in one place or in one company throughout their whole professional lives. But let's not forget this is Taurus, all right? So the money definitely does play a tremendous factor in the way that they make career choices, because these are not the people that are going to desire a lifestyle that's inexpensive to maintain. No, no, they want to experience the finest. They want to taste the finest. They want to touch and feel the most beautiful things that this plane of existence has to offer, man. And so they're going to need a career that allows them to earn enough to supply them with that. You know, you can look at Donald Trump, or once again, this one just makes me think about my sister, Joali Queen Machete. Because she made sure that she could get into a place where she can move to her native land of Puerto Rico. And she experiences some hardship there, but for her to be in her native land and for her to be around that water and for her to be around her people is something that's extremely powerful for her. And it also makes her business flourish even more because she's in that habitat and because she enjoys what she does. So it's all a part of it. All right. And so with all of this in mind, this is why people with Taurus as their medium coeli tend to gravitate towards careers that are associated with comfort or with pleasure, or just that's going to afford them as much money as possible so they can control all the key variables in their life because they hate the feeling of feeling powerless. All right. And really, this could be all kinds of stuff. With Taurus on the midheaven, these could be beauticians or estheticians, or these could be chefs. These could be bankers. These could be people who are into design. These could be investment specialists, or hell, with Taurus ruling the midheaven, these could be singers or public speakers because of the throat being involved with this, or even actors, or when you think about Venus ruling this, it could be anything artistic. Anything creative could be lucrative for these people right here. You could even see real estate people like Donald Trump. All right. And I want y'all to understand this when we're talking about the president-elect. Yes, he's the president-elect of the United States. But when you talk about the midheaven, speaking of public reputation, you have to consider the fact that he is known as a billionaire. Donald Trump is able to do what he does because he's a billionaire. All right. He even won this election based on the economy. It's about the money. He wouldn't be Donald Trump if it wasn't about the motherfucking money. And when you hear black people say, I'm the black Donald Trump in hip hop throughout history, they're not saying that because of his charisma or because they like him. They're speaking of them having the money and the power and the influence that comes with being Donald Trump. Once again, that's that Taurus midheaven. All right. And really, it just depends on what these people enjoy and what pays the best. For real. And speaking of pay, with the Scorpio and Taurus axis, these folks here are going to be naturally good with money. So this is definitely going to be the person who works at the company just long enough where they can buy that motherfucker. Or this is going to be somebody who works somewhere long enough just to afford the opportunity to go into business for themselves. Or somebody who acts long enough just to be able to direct or produce and do it their own way. And if this is your place, man, just don't get so caught up in the money that you let that Scorpio part of yourself take control and you start using toxic manipulative behaviors to keep your motherfucking money or to stay in power. All right. But hey, even if you do, that'll be all right. Because, the truth of the matter is, just because you're built like that, it doesn't mean you have to build like that. And what I mean is, we all have all of this energy available to us in some way, form, or fashion. What you do with it is what you do with it. And even beyond that, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it. And that's some priceless knowledge in itself. And this has been some priceless knowledge of self. I hope this is everything that it needs to be for you. If you're interested in any astrological or numerological readings whatsoever, don't ever get at me in the comments. No, get at me in my email, which is mr.turner1300@gmail.com. That's MR.TURNER1300@gmail.com. You send me an email, tell me you're interested in a reading. I will send you a list of services and a price list. You will get at me. I'll get back at you. We'll have a wonderful experience. And life will be great. So I hope everybody has really gotten the most that they can from this. There's so much more that could be said for this. Because, we barely touched on the public reputation that could come with this, like we have in other instances, but there's a lot of different ways that could play out. All right. But, thank y'all. Thank y'all for everything. Y'all keep it true till next time. We'll be back soon.